Welcome to Beyond Business Barriers, powered by insights, driven by strategy, and yes, assisted by AI. I'm your host, Roy MacEwen, and today's episode is part of a special series where we sit down with industry leaders to dig into what's working, what's not, and what the future holds. I'm excited to have Frank with me today on Beyond Business Barriers. Why don't you start things off by introducing yourself to our listeners, Frank?
Yeah, my name is Frank Flowers, and I currently reside in the state of Georgia, in the United States. I've been in a business, owning businesses, working at corporate different positions for a lot longer than I probably want to admit to. I started out my career in the military, so I was an officer in the Army. Went into business and have been here for about 30 something years now. Currently, I'm working as the co-founder, and executive vice president for Assurance Business Concepts. And with Assurance Business Concepts, what we are doing is reaching out to business owners and helping them position their business credit profile so that they are able to go into their banks and their credit unions and really attain the best interest rates and terms and conditions for the capital that they need.
So, what does a typical day look like for Frank, if such a thing exists? What's your typical day?
Well, my primary responsibility, it really does vary. And that, quite honestly, that's what I love about being a business owner is I don't like the dull routine of doing the same thing over and over again. So it really does vary. But primarily, I work with our new clients, making sure that they are set up and established with our certified credit analysts who are going to be working with them for the next 12 months on their business credit profile. I am responsible for managing our partnerships. So we have referral partners that we utilize across the country, as well as funding partners that we have tapped into to help our clients. In addition to that, I also work with our sales team on solving any problems that they might have, overcoming any challenges that they may be facing that they don't quite know how to handle.
Okay, what major changes or trends have you seen in your industry right now?
Yeah, right now, I mean, if you're a business owner, you know that there's a lot of changes going on in the world right now. And from our perspective, we see a lot of business owners that are becoming a little bit more hesitant because they're not really sure how to make decisions. They're uncertain as to what's going to be happening with the economy, so they're a little bit skittish on making plans for the future. So that's one aspect. The second aspect is the fact that banks are tightening their credit. They're getting a little bit more restrictive on giving out loans that are needed by business owners, and primarily it's the small business owners. And by small business, my definition is under about $5 million in revenue. Okay, but they're having the problems with that, and so they're having to look for alternative options for them, and that's where we come in. We're able to kind of help them out a little bit.
So, you're
Um, you know,
currently you've noticed that just as of late, like in the last month or so, or is it?
it's gotten worse in the last month, to be honest with you. And I know you're up in Canada, and let's face it, there's a lot of when I was in the military, we used to call this a VUCA environment. It's a VUCA environment. I don't know if you ever heard that term before,
I heard that terminology
but
from
yeah,
Americans.
for for those that may not know, it stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And if there is a better definition for what we're going through right now, I do not know it. So,
That fits the profile right now. I'll
it,
go with that.
it really does. It really does. And even between our good friends up north where you are, there's that uncertainty. So, a lot of business owners, they're looking at, what's going to be the impact of these tariffs? What are we going to do with our supply chain? What are we going to do with obtaining the capital that we need? uh, Small businesses that have contracts with our federal government are very nervous because so many of those contracts are being canceled. So there's just a lot of really unknowns right now that I see with the business owners, and it has them, a little bit of trepidation there right now.
Right, right. So, right now those trends are impacting your growth strategy? Are you going to have to change up your business model or?
We made some adjustments to it. Some of the ones that we made recently is looking more towards these referral partners, and the referral partners that we're typically utilizing are business coaches. We're utilizing banks. So if a bank or credit union is having to tell a business owner, you know what, your profile just doesn't meet our criteria. However, let me introduce you to Assurance Business Concepts so that they would be able to help you over the next, 6 to 8 months to build that profile to the point of where you need to be. Now, also in addition to that, you're talking about some of the changes that are coming about. Banks are shifting their algorithms for approvals. 10 years ago, let's say, the biggest component of approval was the business credit score, which is known as a paydex score, and then also the financials. Now, obviously, if a business is not profitable, is not showing good revenues, that's going to be an issue no matter what the algorithm looks like. But now they're here in the U.S. anyway, they're switching to what's called the SBSS FICO, and that stands for a small business scoring service. And that actually encompasses different components. So in addition to looking at the financials of a business, they're also looking at the what's called a bank rating score. So you have a business account, you go into a bank, and they're going to tell you, okay, well, what is your your rating score on that? It is primarily based on your average daily balance for the past 3 months. Okay, and there's a whole range that you can go through. They're going to look at the owner's personal credit. Now, a lot of times, some of our competitors are out there saying that a bank's, we can get you to where a bank's not going to look at your personal credit. If you have been in business more than about 3 years and you have over $5 million in revenue, that's probably true. But most of the businesses out there are not meeting that criteria. So,
Right.
they're going to be impacted by that personal, looking at their personal FICO score. The problem that we're also seeing, some of these other trends that we're seeing here, is the fact that business owners are having to utilize their personal savings and credit cards in order to fund their business. When they do that, they are lowering their own personal credit. So you see it's kind of a snowball,
Yeah, one affects the
you
other.
do one
Absolutely.
thing
Yeah.
and you're going to impact another. So we work with our clients to help them overcome some of those challenges.
Well, that's intriguing to me. That's why I do this show, so I can get this information. So,
Well,
well, with that in mind, what's working well in your business right now? I,
well, right now education. I mean, I am all about education. If you are a startup business, maybe you haven't even filed your LLC yet, you're just getting started. I love educating people because I was a business owner for over 15 years and I never knew any of this stuff.
well, it's the
Okay,
same
I
here.
really didn't.
If I knew then what I knew now, well, hey,
Oh,
but
yeah, absolutely. Would have
yeah,
been totally different. But, just to give you an example, on a business, when you go into a bank for a business loan, they are going to look at the viability of you, if you will, of your business. So before they even get to your financials, before they get to your credit scores, they're going to look at what we call compliance. Okay. With compliance, they're going to be looking at things like, do you have a website? Do you have an email address that uses the domain of that website, or are you still using franksplumbing at gmail.com? Address. A lot of people think, well, you're starting a business, you file, and I'm not sure the procedure in Canada, but here in the US, you would file with your Secretary of State. You give them your business address, and then you pay your fees every year to them. But what business owners fail to do is to update that business address. If it's a house, which most of the time it is for startups, if you use your house residence as the business address, that's a red flag for a bank. So we talk to people. Okay, there are other options. You can go in and get a virtual office address. Phone numbers. If it's a cell phone number, that's another red flag for a bank.
So was
They
this in reference before of them expecting a brick and mortar outside?
it is. So
Yeah,
and there's a lot of home-based businesses now. A lot
absolutely.
of people are, I work remotely. I don't go into an office. I have an office upstairs. I walk 10 feet from my bedroom into my office and get my coffee, and I'm at work. But a lot of companies don't realize the fact that that can be detrimental because they do a comparison to see, okay, how is this address zoned? Is it zoned as a residence or is it zoned as a business?
Yeah,
Um,
we have something similar here where we have
yeah.
commercial if it's R1, R2, R4, and that's the classifications. But in some places you can have your home as a business or just strictly a business. You can't, or sorry, just as your home, you can't have it as a business. And that's
Mhm.
basically geographical locations to access through throughways and what have you, through streets or downtown.
That's exactly right, and it's the same here. We look at items such as making sure that the name of your corporation matches across all the different entities. So you want to match what the state government has. You want it to match what the federal government has with the Internal Revenue Service. And then you also want to make sure that it matches what your bank has. If they don't, one of the problems that you might see is that when you are utilizing, tapping into some of the loans and some of the trades for your business is not getting reported onto your business credit score. And so we want to make sure we get all those cleared up. So, yeah, I love educating business owners on that aspect of it and giving them the heads up.
Well, that's good. I mean, what do you find the most frustrating thing right now for yourself?
The most frustrating thing right now, to be honest with you, are business owners who are killing their own personal finances to run their business. Um,
So using
they
their personal line of credit
they're using
cards,
their
putting their
credit
own money.
cards, they're utilizing, and unfortunately, a lot of them have done that for so long that it's difficult for them to dig out that hole. We have what's called type of financing is called an MCA. It's a merchant cash advance. And basically, what it is a very quick, very easy, high risk type of loan. We call it like a payday advance for an individual, if
So
you will.
very high interest if it's not
100,
paid.
I've seen them up to 120% interest rate. When they get to be that high, and I have, matter of fact, last week I talked to a business owner. He had 3 of those that he was paying on, and he could not understand why he did not have any cash flow. He had a good business, good revenue, but he never had cash at the end of the week because of those MCAs. So that's the frustrating part is seeing those individuals that have gotten themselves into such a deep hole. It's going to be a really tough struggle to see them get out
No
of.
matter how hard you work, there's no 16, 18 hours a day. There's just no getting ahead. That's
There really isn't, and the only way of doing that, and there are times when an MCA is useful. So don't get me wrong. Sometimes, and I big qualification on this, but sometimes they are needed. But if you do an MCA, you have to have that exit strategy. It's not a long-term solution. It is a solution until your accounts receivables are 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 paid. That's a short-term type of thing. You don't want to carry these things out. And unfortunately, some of the business owners that we see are, just digging that hole deeper and deeper.
and what's saying is in an emergency situation and not deeming it an emergency,
Yep.
and then
Yeah, and you realize, and along with that, one of the other frustrations is that business owners don't always know what their options are. They are so focused on running their business that most of the time they're not to the point where they have a full-time CFO. They don't have a huge finance staff. It's usually their office manager that's doing the financing. They don't know what their options are. So the opposite of my frustration is the feeling I receive when we are able to help them, when we are able to say, you know what, here is a plan, here is a way that we can work together to get you from where you are now to where you are financially viable and profitable. So that's kind of the flip side of what I enjoy doing.
So then it's kind of if chance, if they happen to catch one of your advertisements or something, even then at that point, they don't know that they should be going and asking those questions. And a lot
Exactly
of
right.
people, it deters people and they don't understand. Well, I didn't know. I didn't know at the time. And the thing is, you can look, you can find. And that's what most people need to do is reaching out, right?
Exactly. And the best thing you have is when a business owner calls you up and say, hey, you know what, I saw your advertisement, I saw your website, someone referred me to you. We love having that. You know, we all the founders of the business have been business owners for many years,
Right.
and so we understand the pain, we understand the aggravation. Earlier you spoke about some of the shifting that we were doing with our business strategy. We found that a lot more businesses are in that position where they need short-term funding. They can't wait it takes about 8 months, quite honestly, to get them to where their profile is to the point where they can go into a bank. Um, but we found that they did need some funding now. So that's where we are getting partnerships with reputable business
So they
brokers
can
that
have money up front, set
have a
them. Yeah.
variety of programs for them. There's a lot more. There's equipment leasing. There are term loans. There's all sorts of different types of programs out there that we work hard to get, clients that need that funding to the right people.
Right. So finding this incredibly informative, and that's the thing. Like people who don't know, they don't know where to go, and that's the whole pretense of what you offer them. And what causes the most problems within a business, especially finances, money. You know.
Right now there is a report that came out. I think it came out last year, but it stated that within the first year of business, and this goes back last year, but within the first year of business, about 35% of the businesses fail. Within 5 years, it's 50% of the businesses fail, and within I think it's 15 years, there's only about 25% of the businesses that are still in operation. And the number one reason is finance. Either they did not manage their accounts receivable and accounts payable, or they just got into that hole with obtaining the financing. Eventually, if you're using your credit cards or your personal assets, that's going to run out. There
Well,
unless
I know
unless
I started a business years and years ago, and I used my own line of credit and my cash, and lo and behold, that wasn't a great idea at the time because
I
it didn't matter how many. I went and switched and went back to another job, and I said, "Oh, this is much more simplistic, not as rewarding, but way
yeah,
more simplistic," and because I didn't have the knowledge.
exactly. And and doing a startup, I admit it's hard to get funding for a startup. It is. But once you get that going and you've been in business for about 6 months, let's say, there are ways of getting some additional capital. And quite honestly, you can get 3 to 5 times more money using business loans than you can as personal.
Personal, yeah.
And so, there's ways of doing it that unfortunately a lot of business owners just don't know about. It's like, you don't know what you don't know. And that's the problem with some of the business owners right now.
Now, doing a comparative to business or a private loan, personal loan, what's the interest comparative there?
You know what? That's a question I get asked all the time, and it is literally impossible for me to say, simply because even
Each
on a
situation.
business loan, there are a lot of factors that come into play. How long have you been in business? Your business profile as it is now, your personal credit. They're going to look at your personal FICO. They may or may not, depending on your situation, require personal guarantee on that. Our goal when we get through our program is you don't have to do personal guarantee. Now they may still look at your FICO score, but they're not going to utilize a personal guarantee on that. Okay, so there's a big difference. Right now, you can get SBA loan, a small business administration loan, is probably one of the harder ones to get because it takes so long. And quite honestly, you got to go through the government to get all the paperwork done. That is probably the best option. Those run anywhere from about 7 to 12% annual. Most of the business owners, however, are going to qualify for something more closely in the mid-teens to upper teens. The 14 to 18%
Well,
interest rates.
that's relatively that's not bad when
Yeah,
you think about it.
yeah. And it's one of the things we
It's
always
way
talk
less than
about.
a credit card.
Yeah, that's
That's just
exactly right. It's better than
yeah.
utilizing your personal credit card, and um, what's the cost of not getting that money? If you don't pay that 18% interest rate, are you still going to have a business? Or, if you're waiting to get a contract and you know that you're going to make, you know, 10 times that amount of money,
And you have to
well,
go
then
that
it's
extra
worth it.
two
It's worth that
months
eight.
or yeah, absolutely.
Exactly right.
As I say once before, I'll say it again. I'm getting educated. I like this.
Hey, you know what? I've been in this business now for a few years, and I learn something new every single day.
Oh, hey, if you're not listening, you're not learning.
And you know
And
what? When you're absolutely right, and you become. I always say, if you're not learning something every day, you will become irrelevant. And
absolutely.
the things have always changed. The pace of change right now, I think, is faster than I know I've ever
Oh,
seen in my lifetime. Even you talk about things like AI. You
yeah.
talk about everything that's coming about. You have to learn something every single day, every week. You have to keep on top of these things.
Yeah, you'll
Now,
never be an authority on everything, but you know what? You'll be familiar with it and you'll be able to have a conversation. And that's my hope.
that
you know?
that you know what that is absolutely right. If someone were to come in and want me to set up some sort of AI tool for them, I would just stare at them because I wouldn't have a clue how to get started. But I do know how to
You
get the
start by
resources for it.
you start by taking your AI system and getting it to lay you out a platform of a step-by-step tutorial, and then that's how you do it.
Exactly right. You say, how do I do this? So
Yeah, exactly. So with that in mind, is there any other, say, metrics or key performance indicators that are getting a lot of your attention on your dashboard right now?
yeah, right now what we're really kind of focused on, because even though we utilize our referral partners, we still have a sales force that we utilize. And so we look at a couple of things. We look at our the contacts that our salespeople are having. How many times are they reaching out and engaging with prospects? If we see that over a week they've had 5 engagements with prospects, we have a problem.
Oh,
Okay,
absolutely. Yeah,
so
I
we
could relate. Yeah.
yep. So we keep a good idea on that. We want to take a look at kind of the quality of the prospects that they're talking to. Um, there are some clients that, as much as we want to help them, they're not going to be a good fit for our program,
That's
quite
right.
honestly. And if they're not a good fit for our program, we don't want to charge them money and give them in any
Yeah,
worse
I
shape.
don't go try to fit my feet in my wife's shoes. I know it's not going to
No,
happen, you know.
exactly,
As much
exactly
as I
right.
think they'll look good on me, it's just not going to fit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the other thing we look at is the engagement of our referral partners. So, we have many referral partners out there, and so we like to see, okay, well, how many of them are actually making referrals to us on a monthly basis? If they're not engaged, then we know that we need to go and talk to them and find out where the miscommunication was, or what can we do to help them to refer more people to us.
Perfect. Now, looking ahead, let's look into our crystal ball here. Where would you love to see the business in 6 to 12 months from now? Not knowing what you don't know or what could
Yep,
happen, but in
yep.
6 to 12 months, what would you like
Well,
to
well,
see
we
move
currently
forward?
have a goal of expanding our referral partner network so that we have about 300 referral partners out there. Okay.
That's pretty impressive.
It's a big goal. It's a big goal. But we really want to have those referral partners out there. We don't expect them to sell our product. We don't expect them to be experts in the product, but we want them to understand that some of their clients need our services and that we are going to be able to help them, so they have that confidence that they're going to be able to send them over to us and we'll take care of them.
Absolutely.
And we definitely want to build up our client base. And we are, I mean, literally every week we're coming up with ways that we can improve the services that we provide our clients. One of the things, the first questions that you asked me was, what do I do on a daily basis? And that's looking at the process. We want to make sure our processes are the best that they can be, and we do change them. We change them on a as needed basis, and we have that flexibility. Um, we want to be able to increase our number of clients and reach out to other industries. Right now, a lot of our clients come from the trade industry. The plumbers, construction contractors. We want to be able to expand that, and part of that is really driven by the banks and credit unions. Our goal, as I stated earlier, was we wanted our clients to be able to go into a bank or credit union and obtain loans and lines of credit at the best interest rate possible. Well, unfortunately, some of the banks exclude some industries, okay? So now they're starting to open up a little bit more, one of which is the cannabis industry. I
Yep.
know in Canada
In
it's legal.
Canada, yeah.
Here, more and more states are legalizing it, and it's become quite a big industry for financing, if you will.
Yes.
So we have connections that can obtain some financing for them, so we're able to expand into that area as well.
Hmm. Well, that's that crystal ball. Now I'm gonna switch it up to let's how about a magic wand? And if you had that magic wand, what is one major issue today that you could fix? What would it be?
I, if you look at it from a macro standpoint, I would love some economic stability. The more
Yeah,
stability we have
that's
right now, I mean, right now it's all over the place, but we need to kind of get some stability within the economy so that business owners have more confidence in their planning process and being able to have that crystal ball so they can look into somewhat accurately. From a micro perspective for our business, I think one of the challenges that we have is on the marketing side. Business owners today are being inundated with emails, telephones, texts, you name it, they're getting hit with it. So we're always trying to find new ways of the marketing side, so we are able to get their attention. But we've got to be able to stand down apart from the 100 other texts and emails that they get.
what makes it special. That's just it right there. That special little ingredient. You know.
Yep. And we are always experimenting with new things. We're talking to companies that have the AI technology that we can introduce into our marketing. There's a lot of different ways of doing it. I mean, back when I was kind of getting my feet wet a little bit, long time ago, it was telephone calls. I mean, you picked up the
Uh,
phone, you call people, they answer the phone. They didn't have caller ID,
yes,
so they just
that's right.
answered.
Yeah, answered it. Yes, I
Yeah.
worked in a call center when my wife and I first got together. Like, oh, can I do that math? 30, almost 30 years ago.
Mhm.
That's what we, and that was a booming thing because it was all new and everybody had it. And you knew if you worked with a cell phone company, you were calling somebody with a cell phone. Long distance programs. You remember all the long distance companies that go 7 cents, 15 cents a minute, and oh, it was just amazing. And that was the top tier right there. That was
Yep.
that secret sauce, that magic wand.
Yeah, and we talked about the pace of change, and that's really where you've got to be able to keep up with that. You've got to understand the improvements to technology. Marketing is sometimes overlooked by small business owners, um, but that is the way of getting business. And we look at the impact of networking events. You look at hosting networking events. So there's so many different options. We just got to find the right combination. And it's not one. You don't just do
No,
emails. You don't
the
just
the
do text.
eggs in one
You
basket doesn't
you
work. It doesn't work at any time at
nope
anything. That's right.
nope. You have to um, have a lot of arrows in your quiver, if you will.
Oh, that's a great analogy. I like that. I want to use that. I want to use that quote. That's fantastic. Well,
We have a lot of them. You got to have enough. Add more bullets to your rifle, arrows in your quiver,
oh,
whatever you
oh yeah.
whatever
I
you
know.
want
I
to
know lots
use.
of them too, but I don't want to start editing stuff out.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, this has been an awesome conversation, Frank. Thanks again for being so candid, thoughtful, and professional. Now, once I wrap the series up of Beyond Business Barriers, I'll be putting together a summary of key insights from across all our guests, and I'll definitely send that your way. And that was perfect. We just wrapped everything up in our content to 31 minutes. Isn't that
Outstanding,
fantastic?
man. It is that was a miracle in and of itself. So
Oh, hey, when you put two senior people with loads of
it
experience, they just subconsciously are able to do this.
well, you know what? I tell you what, it's the evolution that is evident by our hairstyles. We
Absolutely. I
we
got to
just
ask,
have we
Gillette
just
or
have
Schick?
yeah.
Gillette or Schick? I'm a Gillette man.
You're jelly, yeah, me too. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. They have a monopoly on the market.
Yeah, exactly.